gentlemen, good morning. Continuing with the solar theme, I thought this morning we'd just spend a little bit of time talking about the tools that are necessary, should we say, if you're going to build any solar supplies, etc. And in an attempt to avoid the need to solder anything, I decided that crimping cables, this is an example of a cable crimp. This is a multi-crimp ferrule. This is a metal ferrule. There's the metal ferrules, and this is it crimped, and that's done with the aid of get in the right place, this fella here. So you simply place the cable into the crimp and squeeze. So that's one sort. I've also got wire strippers which help to give a consistent cut and finish to the cable, providing you don't go above that sort of gauge. They're actually not much good for this stuff. If you compare the difference in thickness, then the wire strippers are really not brilliant for this, and you have to use a combination of a blade to cut the insulation, and then the wire strippers will take the stuff off the end. But not wonderful. But I don't know what else you would do from a wire stripping point of view, because you don't want to cut the copper core. You don't want to shred the thing with all the little bits of cable that will come off. So I thought what we'd just do is very simply, I've marked out, a Sharpie pen is always useful if you're going to mark things out, and I've just marked this. I use a pair of pliers for cutting this cable rather than my smaller wire cutters. That works pretty well. And in terms of stripping the cable, it's not very complicated. You just place it to where you wish the cable to be stripped and pull, and there you go. But you can see all the individual strands. You can imagine twisting those up to try and get them to fit inside a compression clamp on one of the modules. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this ferrule, this thing here, over the end and crimp it. Right, I think we're there. We are. Right, and now the wire has come up parallel pretty much with the end of the ferrule. And then it's a simple matter of placing the ferrule inside the jaws of the crimper and squeezing. And it'll lock, and there you go. So there's the two ends of the positive cable that'll come from the fuse, the breaker and the fuse for and into the solar charge controller. I need now to make up a black version of the same thing. The other crimping that you will need to do is crimping lugs. Now these are lugs. Some of them are quite big. I don't need them quite that big, but typical of a battery lug connector. These are copper. So I've got copper ones, and I've got tin plated copper. They're pretty much the same. This is just perhaps the tin plating provides a little more corrosion resistance, but either are perfectly suitable. So I'll measure a piece of this rather thicker cable. I only use this cable for connecting the batteries to the controller board, and then everywhere on the board I'll use this, and this is 10 AWG. You've got to standardise. Otherwise you're forever changing things and finding different ferrules and things. So I tend to use 3AWG, which is this stuff, for the battery connection to the board, and then 10AWG for all the interconnections. It just makes life so much easier, and with the lengths of cable run we've got, it isn't going to be a problem. You're not going to get this cable to be overloaded, because we've got copious usages of fuse, as you'll see as we start to build the board. But this morning is all about prepping the board. So let me just demonstrate how you put a battery lug on one of these things. Pick the right one, that'll probably do. What's that? A 25.8. I think I want a 25.6. So they're all marked with their sizes, with the size of the holes. So you can choose the particular type that you want. So as I said, this stuff, I'm afraid I haven't found a more effective way than using a blade to cut through the insulation. So if you roll the cable and you cut, and then using the strippers, you pretty much got to jam it in and then pull, and then that's all right. You get it off. And this that one. I don't suppose it matters. So I'm going to use a 25.6, and we're going to use these crimpers. Now these crimpers have different sized anvil on the jaws. You can buy different jaw sets. This is going to use the biggest one that's there. And these are quite a challenge to squeeze together. As you will see, again, they're ratchet, so they won't come apart until you've done the connection. There we go. So there's a solid crimp on the end of 3 AWG cable, and what I always do now is put a piece of heat shrink over the end. So we'll put a piece of heat shrink there. I have a small heat shrink hot air gun here, which I should just power up. Turn the temperature up a bit, 150, and then we can shrink the sleeve onto the cable. So that does a couple of things. One, it makes a nice tidy connection, and two, the heat shrink protects the joint, makes sure that it all stays together and doesn't become brittle or separated. And that's it. So quite a useful little heat gun. I think it's about 150 watts. So it'll run from the solar pack that we're building, because I've got a 375 watt device with that. So this is about 150 watts. Very useful piece of kit. Right, so that's the devices shown, used, tested, and two different but important joints completed. Right, that's it for this this morning's quick lesson. So I'll wish you all the best, and I hope you have a great day.